Hi there guys, it's Joel here from Aussie Chart Trends. Today's market update is for the week ending Friday the 5th of October 2012. Today we're going to be taking a look at the asx200, a weekend review, and we're going to be taking a look at the smp500 also. But before we get into today's update, I've just got to remind everyone that aussiecharttrends.com.au and this video are for educational purposes only. Nothing stated at this site from this video is intended to be used as any form of investment advice. I'm not a licensed professional. You need to make your own decisions regarding your investments. I'm just here to help anyone searching for a practical direction in today's markets. Okay, so firstly, looking on the daily chart here of the asx200, presuming that you've been watching my videos, I just thought I'd let you know this bottom line here and this top line up here, I've changed from black to blue. So just so you know, I've just extended these lines on out. The reason why I have extended these lines out is because I believe that they may act as an area of resistance in the future. Okay, so let's take a look on the hourly chart and see what's been happening this week. Okay, looking on the hourly chart here of the asx200, we can see here that the market has appeared to be coming up in what appears to be an ascending channel. Now this channel was fairly hard to identify until Thursday, after Thursday's trade, when we had a bounce here on Friday. Well, then I was able to identify that we've been coming up in this rather steep and very bullish looking rising channel. Now, during the week we had a fair few small patterns occur, one of them being this little pennant here, where we had a triangle pattern which either was going to break to the downside or the upside. And as you can see, we've got that minimum expected target there on Friday, and we were able to rally on up. More importantly though, another pattern that I do want to speak about is back on the 19th of September, we created what appeared to be a left shoulder over here, a head, and a right shoulder with a handle pattern with our breakout to the upside. Now this pattern, I was stating that this looked like an inverted head and shoulders pattern. Now, inverted head and shoulders patterns, what we do there is we measure the depth from the head all the way up to this red neckline that I've got drawn on the chart. And then we add this on to where the market breaks out. So if we just add this on to where the market broke out, you can see here that the asx200 then had a target of around the 4,480 area as a minimum expected target. And you can see that the asx200 achieved that on Friday, and we closed even higher than that expected target. Now, guys, I must admit, I didn't expect that the asx200 would achieve this pattern this week. I really thought that we'd probably break this trend line early trade during the week, and that this pennant probably would have broken down. Typical market action after you have a breakout of an inverted head and shoulders pattern is you usually have a back test to make sure that the market can hold up on this neckline. And we didn't get that back test. So I think that that's a very bullish thing that the asx200 didn't even bother to come back down and test some support areas. The line that I would be keeping my eye on is this lower trend line here. If we break this area, which we will eventually, we'll probably come down and test some new areas of support. Guys, this week, a fairly bullish week on the asx200, and just so you know, I've extended the lines. We had this ascending wedge pattern, and this ascending wedge pattern played out perfectly. As you can see, we broke down out of that wedge pattern, and now we've created that bullish inverted head and shoulders pattern, and the markets have continued to rally on up, and now we're getting close to areas of overhead resistance. Now, the tech book does speak about rising wedge patterns. When you actually extend the lines from the middle of the apex, you can find that the market will serve as resistance on these areas. So I'm going to keep these lines on the chart, and as you can see, I've just extended these lines out a bit. I've also extended this red line out. Now, where does this red line come from? It comes from late August. We had a few areas here of support, and if we're able to get over these blue lines in trade of early next week, well, I would say then that we'd definitely find areas of resistance up in this area here. So for the week ahead, we can expect that we'll have overhead resistance around the 4,520 area, That's if we get there. If we don't, just keep your eye on this yellow line. And I would expect that maybe we'll probably have a little bit of a sell-off back down to some lower levels. Maybe on this line here of our little pennant pattern. If this area was to break, well, we could expect that we'll have some areas of support over here on these lower boundary areas around the 4,420 area. But guys, the asx200 is looking really good at the moment. Let's take a look at the smp500. If you haven't watched Thursday's video, well, I did a special update on the smp500 on Thursday because that market has been looking quite weak. But let's go take a look and see what's happening there with the smp500. I suggest if you haven't watched Thursday's video that you go back and watch that video. But with the new data that we do have, guys, it is looking a bit more healthier than what we were looking at last Thursday. The reason being is that we have cracked over this area here and the markets were able to rally on up. That is a very good thing for the overall strength of the market. And guys, if we have a look on an extended chart, if you haven't been watching my videos, well, we've also got a second scenario in place that this may be a rising wedge pattern. But overall, guys, it's behaving fairly bullish. So I'm going to leave this line here. And if the markets come back down and break this blue line, that's when I would say watch out. But until the market does that, I don't have any reason to call anything bearish. The reason why on Thursday why I was actually really worried about the S&P 500, it was my concern that we may have been looking at a head and shoulders topping formation here, with our left shoulder over here, a head and a right shoulder forming. And we also had a little head and shoulders topping formation that looked as if it was going to break to the downside. But the good news is that we did get that break over this area here, and that opens the path up to now the 1500 area for the S&P 500. But just keep your eye on this blue line. If this line breaks, we'll expect a fairly big sell-off. We don't really have that many areas of support underneath us, but that's the reason why we do these daily updates. If this area was to break down on Friday's trade, well, we would have had a clear signal to get out of the asx200, and we would have expected that there would have been a very large sell-off. So if you haven't watched Thursday's video, I do suggest that you go back and check it out. But with the S&P 500, for now, we may be looking at a back test on this lower boundary line before heading back up. But we'll just keep our eye on this market because at the moment I still don't really trust it 100%. And with what's going on at the moment in the elections, I think that there is a bit of volatility that is definitely happening in the S&P 500. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, guys, I just ask that you do subscribe to my channel and feel free to pop over at my website at aussie.charttrends.com.au. Feel free to sign up to the newsletter and you'll get a regular update off me via email. Also, my weekly updates are regularly featured on tradingforblondes.com.au, and pop past their website and feel free to sign up to their newsletter. They've got an options education area there, and you'll find a really good read. There's always some good topics to read about, and you might benefit from that. I appreciate your support, and thanks very much for watching. I'll see you guys on Monday.